It's now time for Energy Insights, where you get an inside view and local perspectives of all the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley. This program is being brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association and can be heard every Saturday at 9 a.m. on local radio WMOA AM 1490 and ESPN radio WJAW FM 100.9 and AM 630. It's now time for the show. Here's Johnny Wharf, your local host.
Johnny Wharf, along with Brian Chavez, a member of the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association Board of Directors, joining us for Energy Insights. And I want to congratulate you and your wife on the reigning Marietta Area Chamber of Commerce Business Persons of the Year. And as I speak to you as a young man, and we've talked to a lot of people about the oil and gas industry, but as one of the youngers, if you will, in the industry, talk a little bit about some of the things historically or the things that you learn about that intrigue you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the recognition on the Business Leaders of the Year. Quite an honor on that, absolutely. You mentioned that we use the term old-timers for some of these guys like Carl Heinrich, and we use that in a loving way because they have experienced a lot. They've tried a lot of things. We've heard some great episodes from Don Huck on well stimulation, and he's mentioned using nitroglycerin or TNT to stimulate a well, and all they were trying to do was create a cavity down there for the oil and gas to collect into around the well bore so that they could extract it from the ground. And when creating this cavity, they also created some fractures, which are avenues for the oil and gas to get to that well bore. So they started using nitroglycerin, TNT, gunpowder, anything that would make an explosion. And they, a little bit's good, a lot is better. So they would continue down that path, which caused me to do a little research on where's this gone. And I found out about a project that the federal government had done in my home state of New Mexico, about 60 miles away from where I grew up. They called it Project Gas Buggy, and what that was a subcategory of something that they called Project Plowshare, which they developed in the late 1950s, and they were looking for peaceful uses for atomic energy. They had this ability to create all this energy, and how to use this for peaceful purposes. They looked at things like widening the Panama Canal with it, excavating, doing all this other kind of stuff. They knew they could make big holes, and they said, well, we know about the oil and gas industry, and making a little hole is good. What if we make a big explosion to make a big hole down there?
Yeah, like maybe Bill Gates at one point said, what if we did this? IBM knows what they're doing, but why don't we try something? So it comes back to a matter of somebody saying, I know that's the way we've done it, but what would happen if we did this? And that's how, obviously, advancements happen.
Absolutely, and sometimes advancements are happy accidents, sometimes they're planned, and as my father-in-law says, sometimes you learn what not to do.
Right.
You just got to get that going. So they tried that, and in 1967, the end of 1967, in northern New Mexico, they lowered a 13-foot by 18-inch wide atomic device down at about 4,000 feet into an existing well. It was a 29 kiloton explosive device, and for comparison, the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima was 15 kiloton, so about twice as powerful as that. They actually...
And that was back in the late 60s?
Late 60s, yeah, like 1967. And interesting enough, an article I found said it was a September issue of 1967 Popular Mechanics. Article described how nuclear explosives could improve previous fracturing technologies, including gunpowder, dynamite, and TNT, and fractures made, quote, made by forcing down liquids at high pressure. So they refer to hydraulic fracturing at that point too. So I know Don has talked about it's been around for a long time. It truly has. It's not a new technology.
So this specific thing that you're talking about happened before you were born, but where you were born, because you're a New Mexico guy, were you aware of it growing up, or did you learn about it once you got into the industry?
I learned about it once I got into the industry. Oil and gas was all around my hometown where I grew up, and it was just it's kind of like Marietta. It's just a part of the fabric of society there. You knew someone, somewhere, one of your friends, parents, they all worked in the industry at some aspect. So it wasn't a big deal. I mean, it's just something that they tried, and maybe in a future episode I can let you know how the results turned out.
Sounds great. That's great perspective from Brian Chavez joining us on Energy Insights, brought to you each and every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. right here on the radio by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association.
Thank you for listening to Energy Insights, brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. Tune in every Saturday at 9 a.m. on WMOA and ESPN Radio WJAW as Johnny Wolf brings you your local and inside perspectives of the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley.